Okay, guys. For this lesson, it's going to be solving equations with absolute value. Now, what absolute value means is the distance. Absolute value is a measure of distance. So see how that comes into play. All right. So what we did before, what we were doing yesterday, is we were solving equations of variable on both sides of the equal sign. We had the equal, we had an x on one side and an x on the other. We had to get them together. Alright? Now, what's going to end up happening now is we're going to do the same thing, but now they're going to throw in absolute value into it. And also, we're going to solve absolute value equations. Now, how does that work? What is absolute value? Well, absolute value is these symbols right here. If you take a look very closely, you can see that there's some symbols. Hold on. Right here. Okay, those little lines right there, that line and that line, lets you know that it's absolute value. It's not brackets. Alright, brackets are different. Brackets look like this. Brackets look like that. Okay, these aren't brackets, they're absolute value. It's a little bit different. Now, all I have to do in order to solve an absolute value is I have to do two equations. Right? It becomes a little bit different. But the problem is, look at this one carefully. They're telling us what m already is. They're saying m equals 4. So when I have the equation, all I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 4 into m. So that's what they do right here. You see? M becomes 4. So it's the absolute value of 4 plus 6 minus 14. When that happens, I get 4 plus 6 is 10. I still have absolute value. We're not there yet. And then absolute value of 10 minus 14. Well, the absolute value of 10 is 10. Why? Well, the absolute value is a measure of distance. Okay? And we can't have negative distance. Okay? That's impossible. No matter what you do, if you walk, if you travel, if you go in a car, once you take a step or once you move down a block in a car, you can't go back. So absolute value is a measure of distance. How many steps is it to get to a location? Well, the absolute value of 10 is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright? 10 to 0 is 10 steps. What if it was negative 10 though? Absolute value of negative 10 is still 10. 10 steps to get to 0. Absolute value is a measure of distance, or how many steps does it take to get to 0. Alright, so now I solve. 10 minus 14 is negative 4, and I am done for right now. So let's take a look at the guided practice. It says evaluate, meaning solve. 23 minus 3 minus 4x, if x equals 2, absolute value. So what am I going to do? First step, plug in the 2 for x. And so I'm going to rewrite it. 23 minus absolute value of 3 minus 4. It's not an x anymore, it's a 2, close absolute value. Okay? Now 4 times 2 is 8. So I'm going to rewrite it again. Alright? I'm going to write it right here. 23 minus absolute value, 3 minus 8, close absolute value. Well, what's 3 minus 8? That becomes negative 5. So 23 absolute value of negative 5. What? Oh, minus absolute value of negative 5. Well, what's the absolute value of negative 5? Well, here's my line. Negative 5 to 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The absolute value is 5. Absolute value of negative 5 is 5. So 23 minus 5 equals 18. And that's my answer. See, absolute value isn't that hard. Now, a lot of teachers are going to say, well, just make it positive. So if absolute value of negative 7 equals 7. Absolute value of 7 equals 7. Absolute value of 89 equals 89. Absolute value of negative 100 equals 100. It's just always positive because distance cannot be negative. You're going to hear me say that a lot. Distance cannot be negative. Well, what about absolute value equations? In this one, what happened was they told us what x was. What if they don't tell us what x is? How do I solve it? So here's what they're going to tell us. If you look right here, they're saying that, see, if I have if I have a unit that is 66, I can go 3 units to the left, and I could go 3 units to the right. Here's why. It says the margin of error, read this carefully, in the example at the top of the page is an example of absolute value. The distance between 66 and 69 on a number line is the same as the distance between 63 and 66. If you notice, that's true. If I look at it, how many steps is it? 1, 2, 3. But on the other side, 1, 2, 3. That means I have technically, in a way, 2 solutions. Alright? So that's what's going to happen in the absolute values. I'm going to end up getting 2 solutions. You have to get 2 answers now. And that's the only difference. So for example, if x, or the absolute value of x equals 4, then that means x equals negative 4 and x equals 4. Why? Well, because the absolute value of negative 4 equals 4 and the absolute value of 4 equals 4. See how I have 2 answers that are the same? So if I have the absolute value of x, that means I need 2 answers. So that's what's going to happen, guys. We're going to end up getting 2 different answers in our problems. So look, let's look at an example. Whoops. Okay, let's look. We're on page now 104. Let's look at an example here. Well, first key concept. Alright, no, not this. Don't worry about this. Right now, let's focus on an example. Let's see how it is. You see right here that now it's absolute value of f plus 5 equals 17? Well, yeah. But what ends up happening now, they don't tell us what f is. It's a mystery. It's like, what the heck? So, what I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to have to solve it, but 2 times. So, first I keep the original. Notice they take it off. So I just set it f plus 5 equals 17. But the second one is f plus 5, and instead of positive 17, what did they change it to? A negative. That's all you have to do for absolute value. All you do is you keep the absolute value the same, but the equals, if it's positive, change to negative. If it's negative, change to positive. So you can get both answers. So here's what happens. I just solve. Now I just solved 2 different equations. Well, how do I get rid of the 5 here? They did it horizontally. I'm going to do it vertically. Minus 5, cancel, minus 5. I get f equals 17 minus 5 is 12. But now I need to do the other one. Same thing, f plus 5, but instead of positive 17, it's negative 17. So here's what happens. Instead of, I'm still going to subtract 5 to cancel, but then what happens? It's now negative 17 minus 5 instead of positive 17. So I get f equals negative 22. Now, what ends up happening here is I end up getting 2 answers. Why? Because absolute value, there's 2 distances. There's 2 different amounts of steps to get to 0. Alright? So absolute value, remember, you're going to get 2 answers all the time if they don't give me what f equals, or what the variable equals is a better word for it. So look at b. It says b minus 1 equals negative 3, but it's absolute value. So how am I going to set this up? Well, I'm going to go b minus 1 equals negative 3, and also b minus, oh, I want a different color. And also b minus 1 equals positive 3. Notice what I changed is just this. And now I have to solve. Let's see what I get. I'm going to add 1. b equals 4. I'm going to add 1, and b equals negative 2. There are my 2 answers, and I am done. Alright? Because absolute value, there's 2, from 0, there's the distance this way, and there's the distance this way. So, let's see, guided practice. I'm going to do 2b for guided practice. So, again, absolute value. See that right there? So, all I have to do is, I'm going to go 3n minus 4 equals negative 1. And then another one, 3n minus 4. But instead of negative 1, I'm going to make it a positive 1. Now I solve. I'm going to add 4. I'm going to add 4. Cancel. 3n equals negative 1 plus 4 is positive 3. Add 4. 3n equals 1 plus 4 is 5. I'm going to divide by 3. I get n equals 1. Good. Divide by 3. I get n equals 5 over 3. That's perfectly fine. I could get fractions as my answer. It's not a big deal. And now I am Done. That's it. That's it, guys. We're doing what we did before, except instead of doing 1, we're doing 2. That's it. Just got to remember when you do absolute value, you write this part twice, and you just change the other side, if it's positive to negative, or you just have one positive, one negative, to cover what? The distance, because I have the negative side to 0, and I have the positive side to 0. Alright, now real world example 3. It says solve an absolute value equation. The temperature of an enclosure for a pet snake should be about 80 degrees, give or take 5 degrees. See, they're saying that I have room for error. I could either be 5 degrees below or 5 degrees above. It says find the maximum and minimum temperatures. Okay. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. I have 5 units that I can do. I could be 5 degrees less, or I could be 5 degrees more. So this one right here, I don't have to solve anything. All I'm saying is the solution is what? 75 to 85. That's all I'm saying. It's not something that's crazy, but that's what absolute value, why I have 2 answers. It's a range. Alright? Now, how do I write solution set? Notice that that one's brackets. So bracket 75, comma 85 is saying that the 2 answers, or the range that I can do, is from 75 to 85. Alright? So where's a guide? Do I have a guided practice for this? Nope, they don't. It's not. It's just one of those ones that, if it's about range, guys. For distance, it's about range. It's saying, if I were to say, alright, your pool can only be at 77 degrees, and it has to be, best is 80 degrees, but your pool can go down to 75, and it's safe if it goes up to 85. Well, my solution set, well, it's the same as this one over here. It's the same. It'd be what? Well, my pool is 75 degrees, comma 85. It can range anywhere from there. Alright? Oh, here's the guided practice. It's way up here. What am I doing? So guided practice. It says, ice cream should be stored at 5 degrees with an allowance for 5 degrees. An allowance for 5 degrees means there's a leeway, you know. You can get 5 degrees off. Write and solve an equation to find the maximum and minimum temperatures at which the ice cream should be stored. Well, if I'm 5 degrees Fahrenheit, right, and I can go 5 steps backwards, so 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, that means I could get 0 degrees. And if I go 5 degrees forward, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that means I have a solution set of 0 degrees to 10 degrees. Why? Because it should be stored at 5 degrees, right? It says that right there, but I have some leeway, allowance for 5 degrees. I could get 5 degrees colder or 5 degrees hotter, alright? Now, when given 2 points on a graph, you can write an absolute value equation for the graph. So what's going to happen now is what happens if they just give me a graph. What do I have to do? It says, find the point that is the same distance from 11 and from 19. This is the big word right here, the midpoint, between 11 and 19, which is 15. So all we're doing is we're finding the middle between 2 points. See how there's these 2 points right here? Well, all I have to do is I have to find the middle. Well, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, it didn't write. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, I could do 8 divided by 2 is 4. So here it is, look. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, I counted a little bit off, but it should land right here because I started not at 19. Sorry about that, guys. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So my middle point is at 15. Alright? So the distance from 15 to 11 is 4 units. 15 to 19 is 4 units. So how am I going to write this equation? So here it is. Notice the way they write it is they use the middle. See that middle right there? See how it's 15? Alright? They put absolute value of x minus 15 equals, notice what they put over here, 4. Why 4? Because 4 units. It's the distance from the middle. Alright? Always absolute value of x minus 15, alright, equals 4. We're going to use that. So look at the guided practice. Let me help you out. So first thing I got to do is I need to find the middle. Well, let's see. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 divided by 2 equals 5. Alright, let's see the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's at 22. Let me count it in black. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Okay, the middle is at 22. So how am I going to write the equation? Well, absolute value of x, what was the middle, minus 22 equals, how many steps did I have to take? Let me count again to get to the middle. I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The middle's 5 steps. And now I am done. See? And if I were to solve it, look, x minus 22 equals 5. That's x equals 27. Bam, there's the 27. And x minus 22 equals negative 5. Add 22, x equals 17. There's a 17. Alright? Very straightforward, guys. Make sure you ask me questions. Come see me if you need help. Alright, the homework is right here. Page 105 and 106, 1 through 40 odd. Alright, don't get scared for fractions. Make sure if you re-watch the parts, That's what's good about the video. It's at your pace. Alright, work hard. Try your best. Work together. Don't be too loud. Let's work together. Let's try and get this all together. Let's make everybody be successful.